This is TechVibe Radio, your front row seat to Pittsburgh's technology and innovation ecosystem. TechVibe is brought to you by Compunetics at compunetics.com, Chorus Call at choruscall.com, Highmark at highmark.com, Huntington Bank at huntington.com, Kindling at thekindlingagency.com, PNC Bank at pnc.com, and Savier at savier.com. Here are your hosts, Audrey Russo and Jonathan Kirsting of the Pittsburgh Technology Council, coming at you from the Huntington Bank studios.
Good morning, everybody. So happy to have you here hanging out with me on TechVibe Radio this Sunday morning. This is your opportunity to learn about some of the cool stuff happening across Pittsburgh's technology sector. These are the things that are just driving Pittsburgh, and they're driving me crazy in a good way. But today, I have a guest coming by that I think you're going to be pretty amazed. You're going to be very interested. You're going to want to keep on listening because I don't know if you can imagine a world without password. Can you imagine logging into your computer, getting your email, logging into YouTube, getting onto your work system and not having to put a password in? Wouldn't that be weird? It's possible. It's kind of happening right now. And it's literally changing the way cybersecurity works. And I have with me today, David Rihak from Peg.io, who's making this happen. Plus, he's just a cybersecurity expert of all experts. I love hanging out with David because he also brings us insights into some of the crazy threats that are out there. So we got a lot of ground to cover today, and it's always a pleasure hanging out with you, David. So thanks for being part of TechVibe today.
Yeah, man. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Most definitely. So, I mean, most of our listeners have probably not heard of Peg.io. And I always tell people first, this is what Audrey always does when she's co-hosting with me is she's always like, you got to pull up your laptop and check it out. So tell our listeners to go to pieg.io and they can get an idea of what's going on if they happen to be in front of their laptop or they want to jump on their laptop later or whatever that is and check it out. But first and foremost, give us the elevator pitch for what Peg does. I have very much oversimplified the whole without password, but tell us what you're all about.
Oh, you totally got it, man. But honestly, like people,
he's great.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. But honestly, people like passwords are a huge problem. At this point, everyone sort of knows, right? And so when you talk about passwordless, I guess a lot of the time people are like, "What's that? Like, how does that even work?" And I guess the way I explain it is, imagine that instead of having to remember passwords, you would actually use your device as a way to identify who you are. Because at the end of the day, we always use our devices to log into places, right? And so what we're actually bringing forth with Peg is this security model called the device-bound access security model. And the reason why it's called the device-bound access security model, by surprise, is because it's device-bound. It's based on what devices you're logging into from, and which is a really good way for organizations to really manage their security. Because what they can do is they can say, hey, listen, I want to have Jonathan logging in from his laptop and from his device or whatever, right? And I want him to only be able to do from those devices. Jonathan wants to have access from another device. Well, he's just going to have to request that. I'm just going to have to authorize it in a simple way. And that's basically the end of it, right? So, passwordless really to kind of get away from all the mysterious, what is it? And then how does it work? It's really like, it's a device-based approach.
I love it. And it just makes so much sense. Like, why haven't anyone thought of this like 10 years ago, 15 years ago? Because I feel like our whole lives are based around our passwords, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it seems like, but this seems like such a better solution when it comes to, you can't be hacked this way, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The reason is I think people have thought of ways to kind of, challenge passwords in a way, password vaults and password managers have been around for a while. And I guess the reason is prior to this, it's always been about the user experience, right? It's always been about, it's really annoying to have a lot of different passwords. And so people, started doing different things and, started reusing passwords in different services. And whenever there's a new service that wants you to come up with a random password of like 25 different characters, and it's impossible to remember all that. So people have been trying and there's been mostly been your keychains and that sort of thing. But I guess the reason why it's happening, like why we're, why we're doing this right now, and why it's such a big deal right now, and why passwordless in general has become kind of a big topic, is it's really about security at this point, right? The, the number of times companies, people's data has been stolen just by, something stupid like using a weak password or just like, a database being hacked or whatever, or just being caught, someone like recognized in a phishing email and just given access to someone they shouldn't have. It just happens too much. And that's why this is a big deal now. So I think it has been a problem before. It's a much bigger problem today.
It gets getting bigger and bigger. That's why I find your solution so amazing, because I guess the beauty is in its simplicity, but it seems simple, but I know there's lots of engineering in order to make that happen, of course, in the background. I think our listeners are like curious, like, well, how would I be able to actually access this? How are you guys selling this? How are you getting this into people's hands, and for lack of a better term, I guess, on their devices, right?
Right. So honestly, so what we're doing basically just is we're really focusing on helping out organizations first, right?
Yeah.
That's where a lot of the sensitive data is. Organizations are just naturally sort of ready and have the culture of safeguarding their own data. So that makes our job a bit easier, right? On the one hand.
Absolutely.
And we partner with companies, usually MSPs and sort of or security companies that are just there to serve other companies and other organizations with security services. And it doesn't have to be, device-based access security, but they usually do a lot of different things as well. But the whole point of doing what we're doing is we need to make it simple, right? We need to make it so that our partners don't really have to spend like weeks and weeks implementing something, but they can just basically subscribe to our service, create a new workspace that's dedicated for a particular client, and then they just sort of configure it and then just roll, right?
You make it sound simple, but I think, yeah, that sounds so smart. I mean, especially with the idea that you're working with an MSP, which is a managed service provider for our listeners out there. I mean, if you think about most of our interactions are through work, right? And our work maintains our computer system. So obviously going through there is the easiest way for you guys to tap into the market and actually have the most impact, because that way you're reaching the most people by being able to provide this service. Right. And I'm thinking the MSPs have their minds a little bit blown on this when they're seeing what you have. I would have to assume that they're like, tell me more, because I know there are also solutions out there as well too.
Yeah, totally. And you know what? The interesting part of it is, for them, like when you passwordless and getting rid of passwords, I guess that's kind of like the way to understand what Pig is about at a sort of conceptual level. But for them, what really is the value, and what's really interesting for them is a lot of the times they're worried about their customers bringing in new users and contractors and exceptions and basically like working with people that are working on their own devices, right? Yeah. And that's a really big pain for them, because it's something that's really hard to get right and manage. Like any security professional will tell you that ideally you want to have a company or an organization where everyone has a managed device that has sort of selected and provided by the company. But the reality of it is they can't really do that, right? They have to just make exceptions, and the contractors come in, they have their own devices. The boss buys a new MacBook or whatever, and so that's where it becomes tricky, and that's where it becomes really interesting. Peg really allows you to do that without having to worry about what kind of device you're given access from.
That's amazing, especially when you think about how like we blend our work and life, our work and personal lives together so much that, we are often using like our phone to tap into a system at work. And so it's not a work provided device, but it's on there and you need to be secure. So this is so interesting. I'm so glad I'm talking to you this morning, David. In case you just joined us, I'm talking to David Rihak of Peg.io. Go to PIEG.io to learn more. We are coming back with more. We're going to talk about Cyber Oinks and what's going on with that. Very fun stuff, and get some cyber trends and a little bit more about what's going on with Peg. So stick with me. We are coming right back. This is Jonathan Kirsting, and I'm with the Pittsburgh Technology Council. And if you go to pghtech.org, you can find out all the ways we love helping tech companies succeed. I'll be right back with you, I swear.
Compunetics is the leading developer of unified voice, video, and data collaboration and conferencing applications for the service provider, government, and unique workflow applications. The Summit Olympus and Evergreen platforms, driven by their encrypted user interfaces, enable powerful and secure collaboration. Combined with world-class support and innovative professional services, Compunetics delivers the right solution every time. Learn more at compunetics.com. Every company needs to attract and keep talented people. To do it, you need a strong company story told by those who experience it every day, your employees. So invite your people to be your brand voice and let the Kindling Culture Agency gather and ignite your stories to engage and attract your people. Learn how at sparksomething.big.com. That's sparksomething.big.com. Your dial is set to TechVibe Radio, brought to you by Compunetics, Chorus Call, Highmark, Huntington Bank, Kindling, PNC Bank, and Xavier. Here are your hosts, Audrey Russo and Jonathan Kirsting of the Pittsburgh Technology Council, coming at you from the Huntington Bank studios.
Welcome back. So glad you're spending your Sunday morning here with me on TechVibe Radio. We're giving you a front row seat to all the great stuff happening here in Pittsburgh's tech ecosystem. This is the stuff that is driving Pittsburgh's future. And I'm hanging out with David Rihak this morning of Peg.io, Pieg.io. You're blowing my mind this morning, David, around this whole thing with living in a world where I don't have to use passwords to access my systems at work and everything like that. And I just keep saying this. It's such an elegant solution, and the way you guys are pulling this off is just really cool. Thanks for hanging out with me this morning.
Yeah, man, great being here.
So we left our last segment, and I mentioned a thing called Cyber Oinks, which really cracks me up. But it's actually kind of serious stuff because you got a cool video / podcast series rolling out called Cyber Oinks, where you're exploring all sorts of cyber trends and things like that. Tell me about Cyber Oinks and especially where can we listen to it and check it out?
Yeah, right. Well, honestly, man, like the thing is, it is free because it's cybersecurity, right? But at the same time, I guess what we're trying to do with it is make it more approachable. Because cybersecurity, a lot of the times, feels like it's something that is very serious, very technical, and very, very complicated, right? And so what we're trying to do with Cyber Oinks is just making it more approachable. And so that's why we're doing these two things really. We're talking experts a lot, right? Like talking to a lot of people that have been in the industry for decades and really know their stuff and have kind of like seen it all on the one hand, but we're also trying to get people that are sort of not really that cyber or tech savvy and get them into the conversation to make sure we're kind of like getting the information across. And it's fun, man. Like we started this. It's almost been three months now, but we already have like people. Obviously we've kind of hit the note, I guess. We have people reaching out to us saying like, well, we want to help you with this project because it's really like something that's like needed, right? Because honestly, like if you think about cybersecurity, what do you like? You usually like you don't really like imagine really anything, right? It's hard to like really imagine what that is, and so it's what we've been so far being able to accomplish with that. Yeah.
I love it. And the idea that having conversations around this, it brings it to the people and it keeps it front of mind, because if anyone's listened to TechVibe over the years and years we've been doing the show, cybersecurity is to be the most important thing out there when you're running your business, because man, the people out there, everyone's trying to hack you. People are trying to get their way in. They're trying to take your money, your identity. And it is so important to stay in front of it that it has to become like a culture that you live in to stay vigilant. And when people are in the know, that you're always kind of on guard, for lack of a better term. And having these conversations keeps people on guard, and it keeps people sharing new information and stuff like that, because it evolves so quickly that, once you think you have things dialed in, there's a new way, there's a new hack that's out there, and then people are vulnerable again. So conversations to me are key to keeping us safe. And I love it that you can bring to you don't have to be you don't have to be a super engineer in order to understand it. I can listen to it and understand it.
Well, that's the thing about cybersecurity, kind of like at the end of the day, it is addressing business risk, right? Like the whole point is we need to make sure businesses continue running, right? And cybersecurity is a way to achieve that, and cyber risk is a way to for a business to go bust, even in some
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so that's why it's so important. And so that's, I guess, that's what we're trying to do here is more approachable, make the conversations a bit lighter, but also, and at the same time, help people get knowledge, right? And be exposed to people that are actually able to help them with their cybersecurity. And so like it's been working out so far. And for anyone listening, check out Jamie Greenwood, cyber. His stuff is really good. He's the guy really behind the camera for most of this.
Awesome.
It's been really fun.
I love it. So let's talk about some trends. Like I said, I love hanging out with you, David, because you're on the front lines. You're seeing stuff all the time. I know there's some certain things that we're always paying attention to, and there's always something kind of new and elusive out there. What are you seeing out there in the cyber threat landscape right now?
Well, I mean, obvious thing that everyone talks about these days is AI, right? Like it's everyone's like worried about AI, or everyone's excited and worried about AI at the same time.
Exactly.
Like one of those things where, it's kind of hard to tell where this whole thing is going to be heading. And so, but like, I guess I don't want to underestimate AI. I think it's an important topic. I think more so in the, let's say, medium to long term, there hasn't really been that much actually like sophisticated AI attacks yet. There have been some instances. There have been, like, I guess like, if you follow like sort of like NVIDIA and how they categorize AI is developing,
Yeah.
like it used to be like detection, right? It used to be a lot about detection, and now it's more about like generating new content and new text and new video and stuff like that, right? And there have been a few instances where like the people have been scammed by a voice that seemed like it's someone else, and that sort of thing. But it's not that common yet, right? The thing is, the tech is getting there, and so it's bound to happen. It's just a matter of when, right? We're talking about current trends. We're talking about what's actually happening. I always say like it's good to look at data. It's important to. It is a risk function. Like cybersecurity is about managing risk, right? So it is important to look at the data and look at what's actually happening, right? And for that, I always tell everyone, go read Verizon's data breach report. They do an amazing job in summarizing what's happening in the numbers. And that what that's saying is clearly the top things that are happening, the top ways companies get breached is still unauthorized user credentials. Usually that's like passwords or just MFA bypass or multi-factor authentication bypass and that sort of thing. And ransomware, and that's really, the time it's really someone, there's a malware on your device, or someone bypasses a password or a multi-factor authenticator and just encrypts your data, and then just want some money to decrypt it, right? And that's still the biggest thing, honestly. It may sound a bit dull because thing last year, but it's still the biggest thing.
I'm learning so much. We got like a minute or so left. What is like one key takeaway that you can give us that as we're going about our daily business at work to keep ourselves safe when it comes to all things being online and just living in the cyber world, for lack of a better term?
Well, I mean, I think it depends, who you talk to in terms of how where they are on their journey of, protecting themselves online.
Yeah.
I guess honestly, like thinking about like at least in space, which is protecting like companies and organizations. And where I see, most companies sort of lacking is really the small, medium businesses. And I think the advice is just, like you got to start with risk. You got to start with like thinking about what's really threatening you, right? It's probably a good idea to find someone who can help you with that. That expertise, and it's great to like counsel and just get advice or someone who can help you sort of manage that risk. I think one of those things that you can do right away is really make sure to look into your like Google Workspace or Microsoft accounts or whatever. Make sure you don't have like old accounts or just like users that have total privileges and stuff and stuff like that. That's just one of the things. It's really easy to do. You can really do this within like minutes, right? And it's going to do a whole lot for your for your defense.
It's a little like cleaning and tidying up to make sure everything's kind of covered. And those little steps can make a huge difference towards someone finding a way to crack something open and get in and get your stuff.
Yeah, right. And if they like if they do, then at least it's not. That's the small things you can do.
Perfect. Oh my goodness, David, so much fun hanging out with you. Love learning about what Peg.io is up to. Go to PIEG.io. Check it out. There is a world without passwords. It exists, and Peg is making it happen. David, thank you for hanging out with me today on TechVibe Radio.
Oh man, yeah, it's been great being here.
Good stuff. Everybody, thank you for spending your time with me this morning. I hope you learned something great. I know I always do. That's why I love bringing you this show every single Sunday. Keep tuning in case you want more Tech Vibe. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. We literally have thousands of interviews with folks just like David. You can learn so much about what's driving Pittsburgh's growth. This is Jonathan Kirsting with the Pittsburgh Technology Council. Go to pghtech.org, and I hope you have an awesome rest of your Sunday, everybody.
Compunetics is the leading developer of unified voice, video, and data collaboration and conferencing applications for the service provider, government, and unique workflow applications. The Summit Olympus and Evergreen platforms, driven by their encrypted user interfaces, enable powerful and secure collaboration. Combined with world-class support and innovative professional services, Compunetics delivers the right solution every time. Learn more at compunetics.com. Thanks for geeking out with us on TechVibe Radio. Tune in next Sunday for more tech and innovation stories right here from Pittsburgh. TechVibe is brought to you by Compunetics at compunetics.com, Chorus Call at choruscall.com, Highmark at highmark.com, Huntington Bank at huntington.com, Kindling at thekindlingagency.com, PNC Bank at pnc.com, and Xavier at xavier.com. And we're always coming at you from the Huntington Bank Studios.